What's going on? This is Magic Mitch, and in this food adventure, I'm in Ogden, Utah at Scrud's Gourmet Grub, taking on their Gourmet Bodacious Burger Challenge. And something with this burger challenge that makes it pretty unique is that there's a giant beef patty, and it is stuffed with cheese, bacon, and garlic. Then on top of that, there's also pastrami, even more cheese, and oh man, a ton of vegetables, as you can see. And all of that is in between a bun that is 10 inches in diameter. Then this burger challenge also comes with a modest portion of fries on the side. And if you're able to complete this challenge within the 1 hour time limit, you get the meal for free, which costs $30, and you also get a free shirt and your picture up on their wall of fame. So at this particular time in the trip, I'm looking to keep the momentum going. It's certainly had its ups and downs, but as the days go on, I have more days to recover, which is certainly a good thing. Though I will say, one thing that's been kinda rough is the amount of food envy I've had to endure. Because let me tell you, there were some great looking food challenges I passed up on. But for the rest of this trip, I was still looking to be well rested and less aggressive, so I could make sure I was at least able to get one win in every new state I traveled through while on this tour. And also, just a little FYI, I've only done one other stuffed burger challenge like this, which was in Missouri. And in that case, I was not able to finish it. So on one hand, I was kind of hesitant about how things would play out in this case. But also, when I saw this burger challenge, my eyes were eating it up. It looked fantastic. You've got this big old burger, and you can see a little bit of that tomato with a nice amount of lettuce and pastrami spilling out from the sides. So that had me pretty amped up about this one. So then, it was game time. And once I started, I flipped over that top bun, and I had even more to be excited about, like the melted cheese and the extra veggies, because hey, with all the meat and greasier items I have to do with food challenges, I'm not gonna say no to more vegetables. And as for my game plan on this one, pretty straightforward, same as always, of just eating the meats first, then maybe popping in a few veggies here and there, just for a bit of a palate cleanser, then take down the bun, and then finish with the fries. Now, after my first several bites of this stuffed burger challenge, I have to say, I was all for it. The meat from the burger tasted great, and I loved getting the mix of flavors between that, the cheese, and the pastrami. And then even popping in a veggie or two was working for me as well. But here's the thing, after those several bites or so, I can't say that this was still the case. Because soon after, I started getting some of that garlic, and I became quickly aware that there was just so much of it stuffed into this burger patty. It was kinda crazy. With so much garlic, its flavor was pretty strong, and pretty overwhelming to say the least. So much so, that it was getting to a point where it was a majority of what I was tasting with every single bite. So I really wanted to finish that immediately. But I also wondered if maybe having some of the veggies, or even a little bit of the bun at this time, might help better buffer all that garlic. As opposed to say having it all in one sitting, while it just sits on the bottom of my stomach. But I just decided to stay the course and finish the proteins first and hope that the garlic wouldn't upset my stomach too much. But I also figured that between the meats and the cheese, that should probably be a good enough buffer. So I continued on, taking down the stuffed burger patty with each and every bite. And man, it was kinda rough because you had so much garlic. It was so obnoxious, so to speak. Like it just had to make sure its presence was known with each bite I took. Especially once I started using my mighty big spoon to finish up the last of it. And I'm not gonna lie here, in a weird kind of way, it was kind of incredible, because it was a unique experience that I've never had before. Now, would I want to do something like that again? Absolutely not. 0 out of 5 stars, would not recommend. And while I no longer had to worry about vampires for the time being, I was still on the clock when it came to battling this food monstrosity in front of me. So I finished off the meat, and now it's time to move on to finish the vegetables, which are very welcomed at this point. Though there's quite a bit of them, but I just keep telling myself, hey, they taste pretty good, they're crisp, and they're doing a great job of cleansing my palate of that insane amount of garlic I just had to eat. So I continued on, all while enjoying the good vibes from Jack and Tracy, who are fans of the videos and came out to watch and cheer me on.
Let's do it, Mitch!
Magic Mitch! Yeah! You got this, man!
Do it!
Okay, so now I'm at the bread, and there's a ton of it. And I'm doing my best I can to focus in and get a nice consistent pace to chip away at this bread. And of course, this is the time where I also like to switch it up to the Diet Coke as well. And even though I did have plenty of time to work with, I didn't want to lollygag around. Not that I really ever intentionally do that for challenges, but you know what I mean. I still had to keep at it, so I attacked that grease-soaked bottom bun first, because it just seemed like the longer I waited to finish that, the more terrible of a decision it would have been once I finally got around to it, which by then, I would have regretted it immediately. And while it is soaked with all the grease and the juices from the burger, it does technically make it easier to eat, but here's one thing I didn't think about. It's also soaked with more of that garlic, which, man, that was unfortunate, because earlier on, when I finally finished that last bit of the burger patty, I was so relieved, thinking I was finally done tasting that garlic and moving forward, which in this case, I wouldn't necessarily describe as flavor fatigue, because usually I think of that as something that happens over time, whereas in this case, after a few strong bites of the garlic, I was just like, whoa. So yeah, I wasn't particularly fond of getting that flavor back into my mouth, but with the help of the trusty old Diet Coke, I was able to quickly change up the flavor after each bite, which made it a whole lot easier to stay the course and chomp away at this thing. So now I've taken down the stuffed burger patty, the veggies, and the grease-soaked bottom bun. And now it's time to work on that top bun, which by the way, I thought tasted great, especially with its lighter, fluffy consistency. But there was a lot to get through. Furthermore, I was dealing with another issue at this point. I can't say for certain if it was due to still recovering from being sick, or if it was all that garlic, desperately attempting to get the last laugh and messing with my body. But something was making me feel very uncomfortable, which made it harder to keep that consistent pace I was aiming to keep. But I kept telling myself to push forward, keep going, and once you get to the fries, you're basically at the finish line. Oh man, things are getting intense, as I didn't have a lot of time to work with by the time I got to the fries. And while I actually think that, had I gotten to them sooner, they would have probably tasted pretty good, but because they'd been sitting out for so long, they were cold, and with that, plus with whatever was going on inside me, it was really starting to hinder my food fighting efforts in this battle. And I'll be honest, it was getting extremely frustrating, knowing that I could see the finish line. It's right there in my sights. But I lacked the ability to keep pushing myself further in order to make it there in time.